After a very short period of being breathless, my soul floated in midair. I heard my grandma fall to the ground with a thud, wailing that the doctor had killed her precious grandson. Before, she had always thought I was carrying a daughter. I watched Zhang Shui hug my corpse and cry, his tears and snot covering my face. I saw my mother rush over, cry for a while, then pull the doctor together with my grandma, demanding the hospital compensate 1 million yuan. 1 million yuan. So my life was worth that much. A voice rang in my ear, "You should go reincarnate." But I was truly unwilling. My life, why did it come to this? Do you want to live again? Yes. My consciousness suddenly plunged into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at 15. The village loudspeaker was broadcasting. Although SARS has not yet affected our city, but Zhang Shui, wearing bell-bottoms, stopped me at the village entrance. Chao Chao, I heard you're also going to vocational school. His young, tender face startled me. I lifted my feet and ran towards home. After a few steps, I turned back, raised my hand, and slapped him. "Die, you mama's boy." He was stunned by the slap. After a long while, he chased after me, shouting, "Song Chao Chao, why did you hit me?" "What's a mama's boy?" I ran home in one breath, towards the direction where dusk was falling. The courtyard was lively. My aunt from the city had returned. In her youth, she graduated from vocational school and was assigned to a state-owned enterprise. Later, she married a colleague, and their unit allocated them a house. From then on, she became a city dweller. She was the most promising and influential person in the family. At this moment, she was pontificating. Although Chao Chao passed the entrance exam for number 1 middle school, her score was at the bottom. Girls don't have much stamina, and going to high school will make it even harder to keep up. Number 1 middle school's university admission rate isn't good now. If she doesn't get into university, all that studying will be for nothing. It's better to go to vocational school. She can start working and earning money in 2 years. Then she can help Zaya Amu with tuition, and you too will have an easier time. At that time, my parents believed her. Seeing that she was still going on, I loudly interrupted. "Dad, Mom, I want to go to high school." My aunt was still nagging, so I directly replied to her, "Aunt, don't worry, we won't ask you to borrow money. Anyway, you wouldn't lend it." She left, fuming. Night fell and the courtyard plunged into darkness. My father scolded me. "You're not being respectful. How can you talk to an elder like that?" I repeated. "Dad, Mom, I want to go to high school." I knew this was an era full of opportunities, but seizing opportunities also required a stepping stone. A university diploma was that stepping stone. My mother pulled the string to light the main room's lamp. The 5-watt bulb was only slightly brighter than a kerosene lamp. My father took deep puffs from his water pipe, and my mother sighed deeply. "Chao Chao, high school tuition for 1 semester is 1,800 yuan. Your dad and I don't have the money. Now the rice isn't selling for a good price, and 2 of the pigs we raised at home have died. Your dad and I aren't capable, and your brother's schooling also needs money." In my previous life, they were like this too. They repeatedly recounted their hardships. At that time, I was young, had limited knowledge, and was soft-hearted and kind. In the end, I compromised and went to vocational school. Then I discovered that many of my classmates' middle school exam scores were only half of mine. Later, when my brother took his middle school exam, my parents scraped money from everywhere, paid a 5,000 yuan sponsorship fee, and sent him to number 1 middle school. At that moment, my world collapsed. This is exactly how life is. One wrong step, every step is wrong. I said word for word, "I must attend high school. I will figure out the tuition myself." My father exhaled the last puff of smoke and said, "If you earn the money yourself, then go study." There was only a little over a month until school started. I was currently working in the county, and even if I worked day and night without rest, it would be impossible to earn 1,800 yuan. That night, I lay in bed, tossing and turning, trying to think of a solution. Finally, I thought of someone. The next day at dawn, I left the village entrance to catch the first bus to the county. It was midsummer and hot, so everyone woke up early. I ran into Zhang Shui's mother, Aunt Zhang, my mother-in-law in my previous life. She put on a smiling face and greeted me. "Chao Chao, where are you going so early? Haven't had breakfast yet, have you?" "I cooked chicken eggs, let me get you too." My whole body broke out in goosebumps. It was a mix of anger and fear. Before I married Zhang Shui, she treated me extremely well. Only after marriage did I realize she was two-faced, especially when I didn't have a child for several years. She didn't give me any good face. Later, when I was pregnant, she insisted on finding someone to do a B ultrasound for me. When she found out it was a daughter, she sold all the chickens she had intentionally raised for my confinement. I stepped back 3 paces. I've eaten. You're also going to study at a vocational school, so you'll be at the same school as my Zhang Shuai, won't you? No, I want to go to high school. I turned and left. She called out from behind, where will your parents get the money to support you? What's the point of a girl studying so much? It's better to start working and earning money earlier. At the bus station, under the scorching sun, I searched shop by shop, finally finding Feud Restaurant. The year I got married, there was news in the village. Deba, a relative, had helped several students, one of whom got into Tsinghua University. After graduating, that child found Deba and insisted on giving him 300,000 yuan. At that time, the TV station even came to interview. The women in the village discussed, with that money, why not share some with the villagers, running off to help outsiders? No wonder he couldn't have a son his whole life. It was past 10 a.m., and the small restaurant had few customers. I licked my dry lips while grabbing the rag from Deba's hand to help wipe the tables and explained my purpose. I'll write you an IOU, and when I get into university, I'll pay you back with interest. Although my grades are currently at the bottom, I will definitely study hard. Deba, I know you've always helped poor children. Please help me. No sooner had I finished speaking than a loud-voiced old woman rushed in. What help? Song Defu, you're giving money to someone behind my back. No wonder the restaurant's accounts never match. She grabbed a cleaver and lunged at Deba. Deba snatched the rag back from my hand and explained, where do I have money? The money isn't all on you, she's talking nonsense. He glared at me. If you're not eating, hurry back. Don't stand here affecting my business. I was wrong. I was too impulsive, too hasty. But Deba didn't give me another chance. He used a broom to sweep me out. I asked at many more storefronts. Even if they hired someone, they only paid 600 yuan a month, and you had to work for at least half a year. Under the scorching sun, I was almost baked into jerky. The cement ground was steaming, and my transparent plastic sandals sizzled as I stepped on them. Could it be that even restarting my life, I couldn't change my fate? Could I only attend a free vocational school, only go to a production line, only marry someone casually, and live a mediocre life? Having not eaten all day and barely drunk any water, I felt like I had shed a layer of skin. Returning, I ran into Aunt Zhang at the village entrance. She clicked her tongue and said, don't mess around blindly, you don't have that kind of fate. It's really good to go to vocational school with my Zaya Shuai. Zhang Shuai ran out from the house, holding a bowl of cold tea in his hand. Drink some tea, don't get heat stroke. In my previous life, we went to the production line together. 800 yuan a month, we each sent 600 to our parents, leaving only 200 for ourselves. The factory provided food and accommodation. He gave me all 200 yuan, sometimes not even spending 10 yuan a month himself. At that time, I felt he was the best person in the world to me. He was very good, but he couldn't stand being a mama's boy. I pushed the cold tea back. No need, thank you. Returning home, my parents and younger brother had just come back from the fields. Song Mu said in a sarcastic tone, you sure know how to hide, haven't seen your ghost-like shadow all day. My waist is almost broken from exhaustion. Since childhood, my parents told me that I was the older sister. I had to take care of my younger brother and yield to my younger brother. I had been brainwashed like this all along. Until they took the money I had sent back for so many years to pay the down payment for my younger brother's house in the county town, and only bought me 6 of the cheapest cotton quilts as a dowry. Only then did I realize. Originally, from the moment Song Mu was born, I was destined to be the one sacrificed. Dad saw the look on my face and knew things hadn't worked out. He sighed, now you know 1,800 is a lot of money, don't you? Mom stroked my head. Chao Chao, your parents' abilities are limited, don't blame us. Song Mu fumed. Starving, can you make dinner first, okay? At the dinner table, my parents said, you should just go to a vocational school with Zaya Shuai, you can look after each other. I want to go to high school, I will earn money. Dad slammed his chopsticks down hard. Do you want a beating before you'll listen? It's already very good for you to go to vocational school. Other girls in the village go to work and support their families right after junior high. What more do you want? Mom spoke softly and gently, also trying to persuade me. But parents, they both didn't get into number 1 middle school. Moreover, this was my second life. If I still yielded, then I deserved to live in the mud for generations, never able to turn over. Just as we were in a standoff, the black dog in the yard barked incessantly. The moonlight was dim, and Daba pushed his bicycle, standing in the shadow of the big camphor tree, softly calling me, Chao Chao, come here. Uncle De gave me a stack of money. There were 100, 50, and also 5 and 1 block notes. Some edges were frayed, but they were neatly stacked together. The dark clouds parted, and the soft moonlight fell on his wrinkled face. He handed me the money, his face still apologetic. I don't have any more, you'll have to figure out your living expenses yourself. My eyes immediately reddened, and I tremblingly reached out to take the money. Please wait, I'll go back now and get a pen and paper to write an IOU. Uncle De grabbed my arm. No need. But you must be in the top 300 of your grade in the final exam. Only then can you get into a decent university, and only then can I continue to help you. He paused. I don't have much money either, I just hope to help those children who are truly worthy. Uncle De didn't even want to come in for a drink of water. He instructed me, don't let anyone know that I paid your tuition. I know. There are those who laugh at the poor and those who are hateful. In the countryside, people's hearts are sometimes more straightforward and malicious. Uncle De rode his bicycle, hurrying away under the moonlight. During the summer vacation, I collected cicada shells, felt for snails in the river, caught crayfish, and used a net to catch wild small fish and shrimp eggs when the water rose. These things could all be exchanged for money. Before school started, I quietly gave Uncle De a large bag of dried shrimp. Plus the 100 my mother gave me, I only had a total of 300 blocks. Even if I ate steamed buns every day, it would be impossible to last a semester. Fortunately, I was quick-witted and went to find the principal on the first day of registration. I explained my situation, repeatedly expressed that I would study hard, and wanted to find a part-time job at school. He was truly a good teacher. He looked through my transcript and thought for a moment, then let me clean and organize the library twice a week, and he could give me 150 meal tickets per month. At that time, meat dishes in the cafeteria started at 2 blocks, and vegetarian dishes were only 1 block. 150 meal tickets greatly reduced my pressure. Not everyone was as good as him. We had over 700 students this time. I was ranked nearly 600. I was assigned to a parallel class. Many students in the class were sponsored students. My seat was arranged at the very back. The girl in front brought her own tall chair, blocking more than half of the blackboard. The self-funded students next to me didn't study well either, passing notes and whispering as soon as class started. My foundation was already poor, and such a learning environment was really bad. I reported the situation to our homeroom teacher, Lao Li, but he just lightly said, "Then you can switch chairs with her and also study hard, get good grades in the midterm exam, and I'll change your seat." When I came out of the office, I heard Lao Li chatting and laughing with other teachers. No grades, no family background, and a lot of bad habits. At that moment, I really wanted to rush in and slap him, but in reality, life has always been so cruel. If you don't have money, then you must have strength yourself. Otherwise, your voice will be drowned out and your needs will be ignored. Uncle De and the principal's kindness are rare virtues. Lao Li's pragmatism is the reality of the situation. I must do my utmost to change my destiny. I never want to casually marry and end up with 1 body and 2 lives again. During physical education break, I made English vocabulary into small cards and pasted them on my palm, memorizing more than a dozen words while exercising. During lunch break, while the person next to me was noisily playing around, I plugged my ears with cotton and seriously solved problems. After the lights were turned off, the residential building opposite the dormitory would light up, so I would stand by the window in the corridor, using the faint light to prepare the content for the next day's lessons. Today, I was helping organize books in the library when a tall, thin boy came over, blushing. He asked if Teacher Wang, who was on duty, needed a part-timer. Teacher Wang pointed at me. "You're too late." The boy glanced at me, then left disappointed. Teacher Wang, while returning books to the shelf, quietly told me, "That boy just now was Zhang Zai. He's the top student in your year's intake. I heard his family's financial situation isn't good." Zhang Zai? It's him. The male student who was helped by Debo and got into Tsinghua University. That evening, I went to the cafeteria for dinner and ran into him again. His meal tray only had 1 serving of shredded potatoes and 4 liang of rice. After eating, I chatted with the cafeteria auntie. Then I went to class 1 to find Zhang Zai and got straight to the point. I just asked the cafeteria owner, she's hiring part-time workers. Help out for half an hour during lunch and dinner every day, meals are provided, and you get 100 yuan a month. Do you want to give it a try? Zhang Zai's slender hands clenched into fists, his face flushed. Do I have to stand at the front and scoop rice? Aye. After all, he was still a 15-16-year-old child, unable to put aside his pride. I sighed softly. How about this? I'll go talk to Teacher Wang at the library and see if I can get you transferred to the library. He was stunned. I had already walked quite a distance when he chased after me and asked, Why are you helping me? Because I encroached upon your benefits. It must be that Debo split half of the help originally intended for him to me, which is why he was in such a difficult situation. Maybe because we're both poor. His Adam's apple bobbed and he asked softly, Then aren't you afraid of being pointed at and talked about by your classmates? I looked up at him. The twilight danced in his black hair. The young man's face was ashamed, yet puzzled. I said word by word. Actually, what's scary isn't poverty, but the inferiority and timidity, sensitivity and narrow-mindedness that grow out of poverty. Because we're poor, we're overly cautious, afraid of failure, dare not try, and ultimately miss opportunities. But if you earn money through your own labor, why should you be afraid of others' strange looks? If you were the cafeteria owner's son, and you stood there scooping rice for your classmates, would you be afraid of what others say? Zhang Zai's pupils trembled, the veins on the back of his hand slightly protruded, and he whispered, Before junior high, my family was well off, I smiled. He widened his eyes. What are you laughing at? Laughing at how top students aren't perfect either. I extended my hand to him. Nice to meet you, ordinary top student. My name is Song Jiazhou. His damp palm met mine. My name is Zhang Zai. He made up his mind. You continue to stay in the library, I'll go ask the cafeteria owner myself later. The next day, I saw him in the cafeteria. His face was as red as a shrimp, he didn't dare to make eye contact with anyone, and his movements for serving food were clumsy and fumbling. When it was my turn, I said loudly, Classmate, I want a serving of shredded pork with celery, give me more meat. He suddenly looked up at me, a fleeting smile in his eyes. Then he gave me a full, large scoop of food. You see, there's someone in the cafeteria. It felt pretty good. Of course, my helping him had other purposes. The study atmosphere and academic performance of the parallel classes were far inferior to those of the key classes. Even the teachers didn't care as much. I wanted to find someone to guide me, but others didn't have that patience. But Zhang Zai did. No matter when I went to ask him questions, he would help me answer them again and again until I understood. The midterm exam results were not satisfactory. I ranked over 400 in the grade. Zhang Zai comforted me. Your foundation is weak. The most important thing now is to build a solid foundation. You absolutely must not get discouraged and give up. Of course not. I've endured hardships 1,000 times harder than this, so why would I care about this? Gradually, rumors spread throughout the grade. They said I liked Zhang Zai and was pestering him under the guise of studying. Every time Zhang Zai and I are together, someone whistles, signaling something good. Today during lunch break, I was called into the office, and Liu Leiashi, the head teacher of Class 1, was also there. Lao Li's face was really unpleasant, and he immediately burst out at me. It's one thing for your own grades to be poor, but you still want to go provoke the top student in Class 1. You are a student now, the most important thing is to study, don't have your head full of messy things. Besides, take a look in the mirror, could Zhang Zai possibly fancy you? Teacher Liu frowned slightly and interrupted. Lao Li, don't scold the child like that. Student Song, I didn't come here today to interrogate you, but just to remind you that studying is the most important thing. I patiently explained, I was just asking him for help with a problem, I don't have any improper intentions. Lao Li slapped the table, you're still arguing. If you have difficulties, why don't you ask the teacher? I stared at him, but every time I ask you, you dismiss me in a few words. You never really thought about teaching me well. Lao Li's face turned purple with rage, and he reached out to hit me. At that time, physical punishment of students was not considered a big deal. In the end, it was Teacher Liu who held him back. That afternoon, my seat was moved to the last row by the door. In front were two 185 cm tall sports students, and I was completely blocked from view. It was as if people were secretly laughing at me for being a toad wanting to eat swan meat. After evening self-study ended, Zhang Zai came to find me. Having known each other for almost 2 months, this was the first time he had actively sought me out. Song Jiazhou, you should test into Class 1. Huh. His eyes were bright. I asked, there's one opportunity every semester. If you come to Class 1, no one will hinder us anymore. Ah. His face turned red, and he quickly explained, I mean, hinder our studies. To stimulate students' fighting spirit, at the end of each semester, the school would replace the last 6 students in the 3 key classes with the top 6 students from the parallel classes based on their grades. I hesitated a little. Can I do it? If not this semester, then next semester. The hallway lights were dim, but Zhang Zai's eyes shone like stars. As long as you persevere, you definitely can. Song Jiazhou, I'll wait for you in Class 1. This final exam was the most important for me. I had to at least get into the top 300 in my grade for DBA to continue supporting me. But in fact, I wanted even more to get into a key class, to strive for a better learning environment and atmosphere. In the following days, apart from sleeping, eating, and doing part-time jobs, I studied like crazy. After winter began, the weather got colder. I didn't have money to buy a down jacket, so when I read in the hallway at night, I could only layer all my clothes on, constantly pacing to ward off the cold. The head of the dormitory gently pushed the door open and draped a down jacket over my shoulders. Don't catch a cold. On the balcony of the residential building opposite, the light bulb, for some unknown reason, had been replaced with a much larger wattage. The curtains were drawn very tightly, and the light on the balcony often stayed on all night. Teacher Wang would take the rag from my hand. You go study in my office. The shop isn't busy for the next half-month. It turned out that as long as you worked hard enough, this world would always extend a lot of kindness to you. The 2 days of the final exam were particularly cold. The school, in a great act of mercy, actually turned on the air conditioning. Before, the air conditioning had always been just for show. I was wearing too many layers, and my back was completely soaked with sweat. The classroom windows were tightly shut. My head felt a bit dizzy. The cracked skin on my hands and feet felt hot and itchy, and my stomach was churning with hunger. I kept telling myself, Song Jiazhou, you must stay clear-headed. The scores would only be released after the first round. After saying goodbye to Zhang Zai and my roommates, I took a car back to the village. The old 7-seater van, packed with 14 people, rattled along the muddy road. A middle-aged man smoked in the car, and a woman held a child who was crying loudly. She lifted her clothes and breastfed the child. In 2003, big cities were already bustling with traffic, but this remote small county town was still covered in mud, like a hopeless situation. I was a bit carsick, and when we reached the village entrance, I jumped out of the car as if fleeing and immediately saw Aunt Zhang. Aunt Zhang asked with a smile, Jiazhou, why do you look so pale? It looks like you didn't do well on the exam. I heard that parallel classes in No. 1 middle school rarely get into good universities every year. Many women in the village also said the same thing. They said my parents must have had water in their brains, not nurturing their good son, but instead sending their daughter to high school. Isn't this just making wedding dresses for someone else's family? When I arrived at the pond by our house, Mom was washing clothes. As soon as she saw me, she stood up, holding her waist. Hurry, my back hurts, quickly help me wash these clothes. I originally wanted to study hard during the winter break to catch up, but there was always endless housework at home. Washing clothes, cooking, feeding chickens and pigs, digging land and sowing seeds. Finally, when night fell and I had time, Mom complained that I was wasting electricity by turning on the light to read. But Song Mu rode his bicycle around the village every day and didn't have to do any chores. Every time I complained, Mom would protect him. He's a boy, how can he do these trivial things? Songmu even rolled his eyes at me. These are all women's chores. That day, I was slicing radishes in the kitchen. Songmu snuck in, and for every slice I cut, he ate one. He even complained about why I hadn't cooked yet so late. I was furious, directly grabbed his hand and pressed it firmly on the chopping board, saying fiercely, Songmu, I am not the hardworking sister you used to know. If you keep this up, do you believe I'll chop off your hand too? At that moment, I released the devil in my heart, revealing grim and sharp fangs. That's right, I resented him. I resented him for his endless demands, resented him for being useless, resented him for taking all of our parents' affection. From that day on, Songmu became much more well-behaved and would also help me with some things. You see, love and tolerance cannot earn respect. Only by hardening your fists will others value and fear you. Today, the scores were released, and I had to go back to school. Mom disapproved. Why waste bus fare? Can you even get anything special from the exam? Aunt Zhang laughed mockingly while pounding clothes. Jiajia wants to get the first place in the whole school, right? Zhang Shuai ran out of the room. Wangjia Village is having an opera performance today. Let's go watch the show. What's so good about getting scores? After graduating from vocational school in my previous life, I realized the importance of knowledge when I entered the production line. I participated in adult self-study exams, taking college entrance exams after junior college. Zhang Shuai kept playing on his phone and playing games, often discouraging me. This kind of diploma isn't recognized outside. I don't know what you're busy with. Can these books be as fun as games? I looked at him and smiled. Zhang Shuai, you go watch the show. I never want to be the same kind of person as you again. I missed the earliest bus, only arriving at school at 9:30. At the school gate, I ran into a few self-funded students getting out of their private cars. Mu Quinchao whistled at me in a hurry, calling out, Song Kayako, running faster won't add points to your final exam. The others burst into laughter. There were a total of 3 honor rolls: the overall achievement list, the key class list, and the regular class list. I desperately squeezed forward towards the regular class list. The cold wind whistled, and dark clouds obscured the sun. My heart, however, was soaring high, a burning sensation. Would my name be among the top 6? First, it wasn't me. Second, it wasn't me either. Third, it wasn't me. Fourth, it wasn't me. Fifth, it wasn't me. My heart grew colder and colder. I took a deep breath before looking towards the 6th name. Song, Chao, Chao. I rubbed my eyes fiercely. The sun at this moment peeked out from behind thick clouds, its myriad rays of light scattering across the human world. The 3 words Song Chao Chao, as if bearing a halo, pierced into my eyes. In a brief instant, my eye sockets were already red. Zhang Zai didn't know when he had squeezed next to me and patted me. Song Chao Chao, you're really amazing. I turned to look at him, and tears suddenly rolled down. He panicked. You, why are you crying? He fumbled around on his body but couldn't find a single tissue. Finally, he awkwardly offered his sleeve to me. Don't cry, use this to wipe. I fiercely wiped my tears on his arm. I'm really happy. So I really could do it. So I deserved such a brilliant, warm winter sun. So I could also have a different life. Zhang Zai put his arm behind his back and smiled faintly. Song Chao Chao, I'll wait for you in the key class. The specific scores still needed to be collected in the classroom. Lao Li was waiting at the classroom door. As I passed by him, I smiled very happily. Teacher Li, it's a pity I won't be your student next semester. Lao Li's mouth twitched, and he said with a fake smile, Mu Jun's uncle got promoted, so next semester, you will still be my student. At that moment, the blood around me felt like ice had been poured into it, chillingly cold. Lao Li patted my shoulder. Who told you not to score 1 more point? That way, someone else would have been pushed down. No, the problem wasn't whether I scored 1 more point or 1 less point. It was that this rule was inherently wrong. But I am too weak now, I cannot change the rules. I can only change myself. There must be some way to remedy this, there must be. I paced anxiously back and forth in the corridor. In the middle, when Mu Jun passed by me, he even bumped into me. He smiled arrogantly. Sorry, this was never the place you should be standing. Mu Jun walked away swaggeringly. Following the direction he left, I saw a homeroom teacher, the head of the first-year grade, Teacher Liu. He was my chance. I started running wildly, squeezing into his office before the door closed and grabbed his arm. Teacher Liu, please admit me into the key class. I will definitely study hard. I will absolutely not drag anyone down. My grades are good enough. I'm ranked 6th in the parallel class. I know this is difficult, I beg you. Please give me a chance. In my previous life, when I was young, I was ashamed to ask for help. Looking back now, compared to a lifetime's future, what are a few pleas? Teacher Liu frowned, his expression troubled. Suddenly, the office door was knocked. Zhang Zai stood at the door, his figure straight. Teacher Liu, according to her grades, Song Jiazhao originally could have. Teacher Liu's frown deepened. I quickly interrupted him. Zhang Zai, shut up. Immediately after, I turned to Teacher Liu. "Teacher, I have no improper intentions towards Zhang Zai. I just want to get into the key class. Any class will do. If you have any concerns," I took a deep breath, "I can keep my distance from classmate Zhang in the future." Zhang Zai's expression darkened considerably. Teacher Liu looked deeply at me. "I don't object to normal interactions between classmates for the sake of studying. You go home and wait for news first. I will try my best to fight for this for you." Zhang Zai and I went downstairs together. His lips were pressed into a straight line, and he didn't say a word. When we reached downstairs, he strode quickly ahead. I called out to him, "I'm sorry, Zhang Zai." People like us, stuck in the mud, must have the determination to abandon everything and fight to climb up. Only then can we succeed. I raised my hand, stretching out my 5 fingers towards the sunlight, making a grasping motion in the air. "I must have a sufficiently weighty bargaining chip, do you understand?" He stopped, turned back to look at me. Against the light, his expression was vague and indistinct. "I understand now." He took 2 steps forward, and I clearly saw the softness in his eyes. "I understand you, but I hope even more that we are comrades in arms who advance and retreat together, walking out of this predicament side by side." He had grown so rapidly. He was like a completely different person from the one who was afraid to stand out and fight for food a few months ago. It made me feel ashamed. When I returned to the village, Aunt Zhang was in the yard slaughtering a chicken for tomorrow's meal. The chicken was held upside down, bright red blood dripping into a chipped porcelain bowl. She asked me with ill intent, "Chao Chao, how did you do on the exam?" "Not bad, ranked over 100 in the grade." Her expression was surprised, and she awkwardly swallowed the mocking laughter that had already reached her throat and eyes. The next day was New Year's Eve. My aunt from the city came back. The whole family gathered together for a meal. She had strongly opposed me going to high school before, and now she dissed me in front of everyone. "I heard you were assigned to a parallel class." "What future can a parallel class have? It's just a waste of time." At the table, many relatives echoed her. "Girls don't need to read so many books. You just don't understand, look how tired your parents are. Marrying a good man is the most important thing." My tone was calm. This time, I was 6th in the parallel class for the final exam and 135th in the grade. There was a moment of silence at the table. My aunt's face wasn't very pleasant. After a long while, she regretfully clicked her tongue. "It's a pity you're a girl. If Xiao Mu had scored like that, it would have been great. However, Xiao Mu is not bad either. I heard that this time, for the final exam, he was in the top 50 of your school. He still has a lot of potential. You need to work hard." The relatives enthusiastically praised my younger brother. Did they really not understand the difference in weight between being in the top 100 of a key high school and being in the top 50 of a rural junior high school? Of course, they understood. It was just that, in their eyes, a girl was insignificant. The family's hope must be carried by a boy. My paternal aunt glanced at me and said, "One final exam doesn't prove anything. You still need to get into the key class to have any hope." Just then, my father's phone rang. He wasn't used to holding the phone to his ear and always put it on speaker. On the other end of the line, Teacher Liu's gentle voice came through. "Is this Song Chao Chao's parent? I'm calling to tell the child that she can study in Class 1 next semester. Song Chao Chao is intelligent, sensible, and hardworking. You are truly blessed to have such a daughter." I don't know how much effort he put in, how much he strived to achieve such a result. I snatched the phone and choked out my thanks. Teacher Liu chuckled, "This is what you deserve. Have a peaceful new year." After hanging up the phone, the entire table fell silent. Aunt Tang seemed to be grinding her teeth, saying with a fake smile, "You're really lucky." I am lucky, but all my luck was earned by myself. Although most of my relatives didn't think highly of me, there were still people who applauded me. It was Uncle De. He also returned to the countryside on the 28th of the lunar calendar. This was his route after all, and he always had to come back for the new year. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, I went to his house to wish him well. While Auntie went to make tea, he happily patted my shoulder. "I heard you got into the key class, that's really good." He secretly handed me a stack of money. "Quickly take it, this is for next semester's tuition. There's a lot of New Year's money for you. By the end of the first year of high school, you must get into the top 100 in your grade." Auntie didn't like me much. Or rather, she equally disliked everyone in the countryside. Due to health reasons, she couldn't have more children after giving birth to one daughter, and countless people behind her back accused her of being a hen that couldn't lay eggs. Some even encouraged Uncle D to divorce and remarry a woman to continue the family line. Don't look at Uncle D's small restaurant, which was doing well, but when people in the village talked about it, they'd say, "What's the use of earning so much money if you don't have a son? Are you going to spend it all on your grandson later?" Auntie brought me a cup of ginger salt peanut tea. So salty. I was sensible and quickly drank 2 sips before getting up to say goodbye. When I got home and counted, Uncle D gave me 2,100. He actually gave 300 as New Year's money. His small shop, a plate of stir-fried pork with chili, only sold for 5 yuan. 2,100, I don't know how many portions of dishes he had to stir-fry to earn that much. I wasn't idle in January either. I went up the mountain and dug a lot of winter bamboo shoots. I rushed to deliver a sack to Uncle D before he returned to the county town. I delivered it and ran, but Auntie chased after me and gave me 50 yuan. I didn't take it for free. Take this to buy some new clothes to wear. A big event happened after the new year. A female university student who graduated 2 years ago from the neighboring Wangjia village bought a house with a loan in the provincial capital and brought both her parents to live there. She even managed to get her younger brother to study in the provincial capital. This matter caused a huge stir in the countryside. It turned out that studying well had such great benefits. On January 12th, we were to start school. The night before, Dad gave me 100 yuan. "From now on, we'll give you 100 yuan for living expenses each month. You figure out the rest yourself." I was a little touched at the time, but then he said, "Study hard, get into a good university, and in the future, help the family more, help your younger brother." My heart instantly turned cold again. The next day, I went to class 10 to retrieve my books and miscellaneous items. All the self-funded students were there. They no longer whistled at me, they all stared at me as I packed. I used a supermarket plastic bag to organize all my things, then smiled and waved at them. "Goodbye." When I arrived at class 1, I found that Mu Jun was also there. Thinking back and forth, I probably understood the key points. As the grade leader, Teacher Liu could have originally put a bottom-ranked student like Mu Jun into another class, but to pull me along, he had to compromise and bring Mu Jun into class 1 as well. Zhang Zai was sitting in the best central position in the classroom. When he saw me, his eyes curved, and he smiled faintly at me. I also smiled, waving at him as a greeting. Hai was halfway there when a mocking laugh from Mu Jun rang in his ear. "You're truly persistent. Do you think getting into class 1 will change anything? Even if you get into university, in this life you'll only ever work for people like me." I pulled my hand back, calmly replying, "I know, but effort always brings opportunity. Mu Jun, class will always exist, but you 1T necessarily always be on the upper rung. Regarding studying, you can deny that some people are just naturally gifted." Zhang Zai could remember most of a text after reading it 2 or 3 times, but I had to memorize it 10 times. He could solve a problem in a few minutes, but even after he explained it to me 3 times, I barely understood. Studying is like climbing a mountain. Climbing from the foot of the mountain to the halfway point isn't difficult, but to climb further up from the halfway point, every single step will widen the gap between you and others. I gave my all, without the slightest slack, and in the first semester's final exam of senior year, I scored 95th in my grade. Barely squeezing into the top 100. This was already very good. According to previous year's admission rates, if I could maintain this, getting into a key university wouldn't be a problem. Zhang Zai and I became deskmates. At first, teachers from all subjects paid special attention to us. Ultimately, they were afraid I would lead him astray. Later, when they realized we were truly just a study group mutually encouraging each other, they let us be. Zhang Zai probably received about 20 confession letters a week. Once, I looked at those letters with a bit of envy. This is the treatment for the top student in the grade. Only brilliant people like you have youth. An ordinary person like me, even if I had another chance, wouldn't he have love? He threw all those letters into the trash, staring at me, saying word by word, "None of these are the youth I want." "Then what do you want?" "Firmly set goals, continuously strive, never give up." He smiled at me. "That's what I want." "Very good, it should be so." At the end of the first semester of sophomore year, I ranked 65th in my grade. At the end of the second semester of sophomore year, I ranked 49th in my grade. For the first time, I broke into the top 50 in my grade. After the score report came out, Liu Layashi called me into the office. Song Chao, you must stabilize this. No matter how hard or tiring it is, it's just this 1 year. If your current score goes up a bit more, getting into a good 985 University 1T be a problem. Zhang Zai was still first in the grade. He looked at my score report, smiling so happily. Song Chao, you are really amazing. I went to Daba's shop to report this good news to him. It was scorching hot in midsummer, and the kitchen was heavy with oil smoke. The pungent smell of chili was strong, making his eyes red. Good, you've really done well. I helped carry dishes to the customers, and when I returned to the kitchen, I saw him counting money, wetting his fingers as he went through each bill. For senior year, you need to focus your energy, so you don't need to work part-time. I'll give you 250 living expenses each month. It should barely be enough. No, I am already very grateful that you are paying my tuition. Listen to me, if you are truly grateful to me, getting into a good university is better than anything. His eyes were red back then. My daughter wanted to go to high school, but I was poor and short-sighted at the time, so I made her go work in Guangdong. She still hates us to this day. Take it, child. He handed me that stack of meager money. Just then, the greasy curtain was lifted, and the auntie came in, carrying 2 newly sharpened, gleaming cleavers. At that instant, all the hairs on my body stood on end. Daba was even sweating profusely, his hands trembling uncontrollably. The stern aunt looked at me, then at Daba, and let out a strong snort. What are you standing around for? Can't you hear the customers outside urging for food? She snatched the money from Daba's hand and stuffed it into my pants pocket. Holding 2 cleavers, she said to me, if you don't get into a good university, I'll chop you up and stir-fry you with chili. I was too surprised, my mouth repeatedly stammered, not knowing what to say. The aunt said impatiently, get out, the kitchen is only so big, too many people can't move around. I tucked the money away and went home. The situation at home was tragic. Songmu's middle school exam results came out, 30 points below the admission line for number 1 middle school. Dad smoked a cigarette. We still have to send him to number 1 middle school. He can farm his whole life. Mom echoed. His eyes are already 400 degrees. How can he farm? But for Songmu's grades to get into number 1 middle school, the sponsorship fee would be 5,000. Mom and Dad sighed, repeatedly looking at me. I was doing Huang Gang's practice problems, pretending not to hear. Tonight, around 2 in the morning, I was woken up by the heat. There were 2 electric fans in the house, one for Mom and Dad, and one for Songmu. I didn't have one. There was only a faint moon in the sky, and the light in the house was dim. Mom and Dad were holding flashlights, rummaging through my school bag. She should have already got next semester's tuition from Deji, don't know where she put it. So they had always known that Daba was helping me. At that moment, I felt as if I had fallen into hell. I endured the surging anger and asked, what are you looking for? The 2 figures froze. Dad turned on the electric light in the room. His face was cold. Your brother needs 5,000 yuan for high school. I know you have money on you. Take it out for your brother to use first. What about me? You'll figure something out. If we really can find a way, you don't have to study, go to Guangdong to work, just enough to support your brother through high school. The cruelest words in the world are nothing more than this. Why? I finally couldn't hold back, tears streaming down. Am I not your child? My grades are good, I work hard and strive. I got into the top 50 in my grade. Why do you want me to make concessions for him? Can't you just be a little fair, just because he's a boy? Are you still fit to be parents? If in my previous life it was because I wasn't firm enough, not diligent enough. But now I have changed all that. Shouldn't such a brilliant me be worth them looking at twice? My father, out of shame and anger, raised the flashlight and threw it at me. Did you read your books with your ass? Is that how you talk to me? I didn't dodge. The flashlight grazed my forehead, cutting a deep gash. My father didn't say a single word of apology, turned around and left the room. My mother found a rag and pressed it against my wound. She sighed helplessly. You know your father's temper, why do you argue with him? He's already been good enough to you. Is that so? Blood blurred my vision and I smiled sadly. Mom, he's a man, he can't understand or empathize with me, I can understand that. But you are also a woman, why do you also want to be an accomplice? Do you also think that only boys are worth cultivating? You've seen my efforts. My mother didn't dare to look me in the eye. She stammered, but Chao Chao, you'll have to marry someone eventually. Your father and I need your brother to support us in our old age. Every family in the village is like this. Your father and I sending you to high school has already withstood a lot of pressure. If you study and your brother doesn't, we'll be laughed to death by the villagers. Your father and I raised you this big, shouldn't you also be considerate of us? In my previous life, I was too considerate of you. Inch by inch, step by step, I gave up my own life. In this life, I will absolutely not yield again. My mother saw my grim expression and rubbed her hands on her thigh. Then how about this? You give this money to your brother first, and then you go find Deji to borrow some? He runs such a big shop, he should be able to get some out. At that moment, my anger shot to the top of my head. Mom, how can you even say something like that? Even if Uncle Do has 100 million, that's his hard-earned money. Kind people should be thanked, not exploited. Mom, be decent parents. The next morning, I packed my luggage and carried my backpack out the door. My father stood guard at the door with a carrying pole. Where are you going? Back to school. He raised the carrying pole. Your brother needs to study. Are you so unconcerned? So selfish, only caring about yourself. I'll beat you to death with one pole. I walked towards him step by step, my eyes burning, then beat me to death. Anyway, if you don't let me continue studying, it's no different from killing me. If you insist on stopping me today, then we'll cut ties. In the future, when you die, I won't even go to your graves to cry. My father was so angry his face turned red, veins bulging on his arms, the carrying pole in his hand raised high. I didn't care and lifted my foot to continue walking. The situation was difficult to manage, and at this moment, Song Mu walked out of the room. Clutched Dad's arm tightly. Let her go, she has a talent for learning, I don't. I glanced at him in surprise. He glared at me fiercely. What are you looking at? Hurry up and go. In my previous life, when Song Mu took the high school entrance exam, I had just been assigned to the production line. At that time, my parents called me, begging me to also think of a solution. Song Mu, over the phone, bossed me around arrogantly. You're working now, you should at least prepare 2,000 yuan for me. Later, I advanced my salary, then patched together loans, and sent 2,000 yuan back. At that time, I hadn't gone to high school myself, and I hoped he could have a better future. But in the end, he only got into a vocational college. Thinking back now, in my previous life, under my parents' brainwashing, I was unilaterally lenient and accommodating towards Song Mu. Everything in the family revolved around him, so he was at ease and didn't cherish it. But after rebirth, because I carried resentment, I never showed him a good face. I always spoke to him harshly and never indulged him. Perhaps it was precisely this that, on the contrary, preserved some of his kindness. On the way, I met several elders. They all wanted me to understand my parents' difficulties, wanted me to be sensible, and share the burden. They scolded me for having a bad temper and being impolite. Aunt Zhang even said that the most important thing for a girl is to get married and have children. What's the point of studying so much? It's most important to quickly have a son while at a suitable age. This backward and closed-off countryside truly made one feel suffocated. I must escape. I absolutely do not want to be trapped here my whole life, like in my previous life. Thanks to teacher Liu's communication, the dorm supervisor opened the door and let me move in. I didn't have to do any farm work. I could focus entirely on studying. This feeling was truly wonderful. Because I had to catch up on studies, summer vacation was very short, and soon everyone returned to school to begin classes. I hadn't called home for over a month. Soon, the lower grades started school. Today, during physical education break, Song Mu actually came to find me. He had finally come to study at number 1 middle school. Carried a large bag. Mom told me to give this to you. He handed me a stack of 10 yuan notes. Dad said my monthly living expenses are 300, but he gave me 400 yuan and 100 should be for you. In the bag were jars of pickled long beans, white beans, and stir-fried minced meat with white chili, all packed in jars my mother used for pickling. I don't like ginger. These jarred dishes didn't have a single bit of minced ginger. My heart was filled with mixed emotions. You see, these are parents. They always fiercely slap you, wanting to train you into a child that fits their wishes. But then they will give you a small, sweet apple, letting you know they also love you a little. I've lived twice, and I still can't break free from this bond. Today, after I finished eating, I passed by the bulletin board. The honor roll for the 3rd year of high school hadn't been taken down yet. Song Mu, wearing his military training uniform, stood there with a few classmates. someone pointed at the list. Song Chao Chao Mumu Songmu, this name matches yours so well and her grades are so good. Under the twilight, Songmu raised his chin and said proudly, "That's my sister." After evening self-study ended, I went to find Songmu. I gave him all my first-year high school notes. After the high school entrance exam, I had a dream. I dreamed that I went to a vocational school, entered a production line, casually married someone, and finally, when giving birth, I died in the hospital due to an accident. The dim lights in the corridor illuminated my pale face. It turned out that my 30-odd years of life in the previous lifetime could be summarized in one sentence. I looked at Songmu, and you paid your way into Yizhang, became addicted to games, ended up studying at a vocational college, and couldn't find a good job. You finally managed to get a girlfriend, but she left you because she thought you were poor. Songmu, I don't want my life to be as tragic as that dream, so I've been working desperately hard. As for whether you want to muddle through your entire life or strive now to change your life, you make your own decision. I threw the notebook to him, turned around, and left. For an entire semester, I didn't go home. Mom would sometimes ask Songmu to bring me some things. I studied day and night. In my previous life, I had taken exams for both vocational colleges and regular universities, but compared to the real college entrance examination, those previous studies were not worth mentioning. Top 50 in the grade. It wasn't just enough effort. It was having talent, or even like Zhang Zai, talent plus effort. As long as I relaxed even a little, I would be surpassed. Sometimes I would think, even a small county high school was like this. What about key high schools? What about the whole province? What about the whole country? I was nothing but a drop in the ocean. But even if I was an almost invisible speck of dust, I would still do my best to rise with the wind. Perhaps I would stop at the peak of a mountain, becoming a grain of sand overlooking the mountain range. Perhaps I would fall onto a tall building, breathing and sharing destiny with the bustling city. In short, I would no longer be mixed in with the mud in Mingshan village. Sometimes I was so tired I didn't even want to speak. There would also be moments of doubt. Burdened for a lifetime, why couldn't I be as magnificent as those characters in novels? Whenever this happened, Zhang Zai would hold me back. It was April, and the night was still cold. He smiled at me under the brilliant starlight and said, "Hold on, we'll be victorious soon." The winter jasmine bloomed and then withered. The small gardenias secretly formed buds. I don't know when it started, but passing by the small garden below the third tall building, a faint fragrance wafted through the air. The gardenias bloomed. The college entrance examination finally arrived. This was to test the results of my 3 years of effort and also to test whether I had made the correct choice after my rebirth. I was very lucky. The examination hall was in my own school. It rained heavily for the 2 days of the college entrance examination. Raindrops hit the glass, making a ticking sound. I suddenly remembered that the day I gave birth, the weather was also like this. My cries of pain and pleas were shattered and scattered by the heavy rain. Outside the door, my mother-in-law's scolding and Zhang Xiu's shouts for me to hold on a little longer echoed like thunder in my chest. That time, I walked towards death in the heavy rain. This time, I wanted to welcome a new life in the storm. The last exam ended, and I walked out of the examination hall, seeing Zhang Zai also walking out of a classroom at the end of the corridor in the distance. The continuous 2 days of heavy rain had stopped at some point. A summer rainbow hung in the sky. He smiled faintly at me through the excited crowd. I also smiled, and as I smiled, tears flowed down. I returned to the village to wait for the results. In the past 3 years, this backward mountain village, surprisingly, only Songmu and I got into number 1 high school. Other children either went to Guangdong to work right after graduation, or they first attended a vocational secondary school and then went to a production line. The villagers' impression of me still remained at being the last place student who got into number 1 high school. A girl being good at studying wasn't something worth publicizing everywhere to bring glory to the ancestors. So, the women would ask, "Chao Chao, can you get into a regular university? If you get into a third-tier university, your parents definitely won't be able to afford your tuition." Aunt Zhang clicked her tongue and said, "I've long said that studying high school is useless. Look at my Zio Xioi. He started working last year and has already sent 5,000 yuan home, little by little." For a while, the women were full of envy and praised Aunt Zhang for her good parenting. Their vision was limited. The girls felt that the current 5,000 yuan was much more reliable than the uncertain 50,000 or 500,000 in the future. Zhang Shen smiled at me. Chao Chao, you're not young anymore. Why don't you go work with Xiao Shui this time, and then come back and be my daughter-in-law? I won't treat you badly. Tang Gu had a bit more knowledge. After all, it's a key class in a key high school. You should have no problem getting into a second-tier university, but second-tier universities aren't popular now. If you don't graduate from a key major, this degree isn't very useful. But back then, she clearly said that graduating from a vocational college was already very good. 2 days before the exam results came out, Zhang Jai called me. Chao Chao, have you decided which school to apply to? Let's see the scores first. He paused. Tsinghua and Peking University both called me. I want to ask you which city you want to go to. Having lived 2 lives, I quickly understood his implication. Where I go doesn't matter, Zhang Jai. The important thing is where you want to go. With a mind like yours, only Tsinghua and Peking University can match it. You must be responsible for your own life, for the talent God has bestowed upon you. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Finally, he softly said, Then I'll go to Tsinghua. The day the official results came out was a bright, sunny day. That day, Wang Ba in the village was putting up the roof beam for his new house, and all the laborers in the village were invited to help, my father included. Close to 12 o'clock, I went to find him to borrow his mobile phone to make a call. Wang Ba's family was very large. It was lunchtime, and everyone was sitting under the shade of a tree, eating and chatting. Zhang Shen was also there. She said with a laugh, Chao Chao wants to check her scores, just check them here, let everyone hear. I dialed the inquiry number, and after a long wait, under everyone's watchful eyes, the other end of the phone began to announce the scores. Literature, 128. Mathematics, 127. English, 138. Comprehensive Science, 274. Total score, 667. The exam that year was difficult. The science stream's first-tier cutoff was 547 points. I considered this an overperformance. At this moment, my whole body felt like it was floating in the air, my feet soft like cotton, a feeling as unreal as stepping on cotton. Is this truly my score? The score of someone who was originally a vocational school student? My dad dropped his chopsticks and stood up abruptly. Read it again, I didn't hear clearly. The speaker, the mechanical female voice, reported my score again. The usually bustling dining table was now so quiet you could hear the rustling of leaves in the wind. Dad looked at his phone, then at me. Looked at me, then at his phone. He asked with a trembling voice, This score, what schools can it get into? I smiled softly. Almost all universities nationwide. Even though no one at the table had attended high school, everyone still understood what it meant to score 120 points higher than the first-tier cutoff. Wang Ba took out a large plastic wine jug from the room. Old song, congratulations, congratulations, quick, today we must drink a few more cups. Zhang Shen muttered, could it be a mistake? Your grades used to be very ordinary, just a little better than Xiao Shui. So it's this easy to get into a good university. If I had known, I would have made Xiao Shui go to high school too. With a flushed, wine-red face, Dad's face was beaming as he laughed. It's a pity Chao Chao is a girl. If she were a son, that would be great. Everyone nodded in agreement. Wang Ba said, Your Xiao Mu is also studying at number 1 high school. Since Chao Chao can score so well, Xiao Mu might even get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Dad laughed heartily upon hearing this. That's really possible. My son has been smart since he was little. Their conversation began to revolve around their respective suns. The midday sun was dazzling and scorching. My back and forehead were covered in sweat. Changing these outdated notions is never an overnight task. But I believed that, at least today, they would have a little awakening. Girls are also worth cultivating. Combining my scores and considering Teacher Liu's advice, I finally applied to Zhejiang University. The admission letter was picked up by Dad from the village head. He held the admission letter, fanning himself with it. A 10-minute walk took him over an hour to get home. When he returned, he pulled out a pile of loose cigarettes from his pocket. They were all Jinbai Sha. He clicked his tongue and said, Everyone at home has good cigarettes, but they're reluctant to offer them to guests. Usually, they just offer cheap ones. My paternal aunt, Tang Gu, returned to our hometown for the summer vacation with her daughter. Her daughter was studying in the first year of high school at a regular high school in the city. She put on a smiling face and praised me. Chao Chao, I knew you would be promising. Your sister has severe subject imbalances. You're free during the summer anyway, why don't you tutor her? She pushed her daughter forward. Your sister got into Zhejiang University, she's amazing. I smiled. My homeroom teacher introduced me to a few tutors, 15 yuan an hour. If you auntie want me to tutor, I'll arrange your time first. Aunt Tang's expression subtly changed. We're family, do you still charge for tutoring? Even close brothers settle accounts clearly. Aunt Tang left awkwardly. Knowledge can be effectively converted into money. Zhang Zai tutored students for 20 yuan an hour because he was a Tsinghua student, and I, 15 yuan an hour. Another classmate in our class, her asking price was 12. Teacher Liu found a place for me to stay. The landlord didn't charge me rent, only asking me to help tutor her daughter's homework every day. Her daughter was only in 3rd grade of primary school. You see, under the same sky, in the same county. The parents in this world are not the same. Some wish they could break their children's wings, while others are proactive, wanting to help their children soar early. I taught 4 hours a day, and the students' parents would also give me milk and seasonal fruits, earning 60 yuan. My dad, when not busy with farm work, worked as a casual laborer, toiling for 10 hours under the sun and rain, but only earning 30 yuan. Perhaps it was from this moment onwards. My parents truly understood that I was different from before. They realized that the future a female university student could leap to was something they had never considered before. After class that day, on my way back, I actually ran into Song Mu. He was coming out of an internet cafe with a few classmates. Seeing me, he instantly panicked, hastily explaining, "It's a junior high classmate reunion, I'll go back tonight." I was very calm. "Your own business, you arrange it yourself." I turned to leave, but he chased after me. He looked very wronged. "Song Chao Chao, what did I do to you? Why are you treating me like this now? You weren't like this before." He yelled at me. "Are you still my sister?" The setting sun shone brightly, illuminating the clear sweat on his forehead. I took a deep breath and slowly said, "Song Mu, born into a family and environment like ours, everything can only depend on ourselves. If you put all your effort into changing your life, I can pull you along. If you fall into depravity, I will never reach out. Because I don't want to drag my own life down with you. If you think I'm selfish and don't acknowledge me as your sister, that's fine too. I don't care." Song Mu's expression was shaken. He panted heavily, as if there were countless words he wanted to shout at me. However, after a minute of standoff, he slumped his head. "I'm sorry, I'll start studying hard tomorrow." My university tuition was a loan. Mom counted 5 crumpled 100 yuan bills and gave them to me. She instructed me, "When you get to a different place, you must be careful with your words and actions, don't offend anyone, always prioritize harmony. You need to be frugal with money, you know our family's conditions." I pushed the money back. "I can earn money myself, you keep it." Mom's eyes reddened as she praised me for being sensible. Unexpectedly, I actually didn't want to accept the favor. By not accepting kindness, I would feel less guilty if I were indifferent and heartless later on. Uncle De secretly found me and gave me 2,000 yuan. I didn't want it. When I go to university, to a big city, I will have many opportunities. Uncle De, thank you. Thank you for saving me back then. Uncle De smiled. I'm also making up for a regret. Hangzhou's prosperity was far beyond what a small county town could compare to. Many classmates who came from small mountain villages needed a long time to adapt, but I don't need it, because I have already seen even greater prosperity. I have already obtained a first move of sufficient weight. Now, it is the time to completely change my destiny by utilizing foresight. The opportunity came very quickly. Qin Jiajia and I, her family actually runs a clothing factory. However, it's about to close now. That would be in Jiangxi, where there were many garment factories, and the products everyone produced were almost identical. If there was no advantage, it was very easy to be eliminated. She gave us a pile of t-shirts that reportedly cost only a little over 1 yuan. These simple, unadorned clothes, however, made me smell a business opportunity. That was 2006. Taobao was already emerging, but not yet booming. Only a few pioneering individuals willing to try would shop online. At that time, there was no free shipping, no 7-day no questions asked return policy. Whether you could buy something suitable purely depended on luck. During the National Day holiday, I went home with Jiajia and presented to her father the bright future prospects of opening a store on Taobao. Initially, Taobao stores were almost all middlemen earning price differences. We could operate as a factory direct store. That way, we could drive down costs and be the first to capture the market. The required expenses were not much. Models and photographers could be found among students. They had time, were willing to repeatedly revise and cooperate, and were relatively inexpensive. For the designer, I already had a candidate in mind. In my previous life, when I was a team leader in a garment workshop, I had received the design director of a design company. Because we were from the same province, we chatted for a few sentences. She said she graduated from the China Academy of Art. Calculating her age, she should be a junior now. I earnestly persuaded, and Jia continuously acted spoiled. Finally, her father agreed. He asked me, "How much salary do you want?" "I will handle the operations. I hope to be given relatively free decision-making power. I want 15 of the net profit as my income." Jia's father smiled. "If it loses money, you won't get a single cent. It won't lose money. If this loses money, then I would truly have lived for decades in vain." At that time, Taobao did not yet have Tmall stores. We first registered a personal storefront. Because there was no 7-day no questions asked return policy, we didn't even need to pay a deposit. In 2007, the store officially went online, named Xinsheng. It was Jia's father's factory's new life, Xinsheng, and also my new life, Xinsheng. I was busy every day, my feet barely touching the ground. Riding an electric bicycle, I zipped around everywhere. For convenience of communication, I bought a second-hand notebook. Zhang Zai was far away in Beijing, and he was also busy with his studies. Sometimes when we chatted on QQ online, I would have to go attend to other matters after only a few sentences. The night before the store went online, he told me, "Chao Chao, the wind is picking up in Beijing. It's probably going to snow again. I feel like you're also a wisp of wind I can't grasp." It was already past 1 a.m. I looked up and saw the sky full of stars outside the window. I smiled and replied, "Hangzhou's weather is very good, I see many stars." Zhang Zai, to me, you were once also an unreachable star in the sky. Why must you insist on grasping me? I am the wind, you are the star. We can always be under the same sky, walking side by side. After a long while, he replied, "You still remember what I said back then." One day, chatting with Zhang Zai, he said that after getting into Tsinghua, he received a lot of scholarship money. After deducting his mother's medical expenses, he still had over 100,000 yuan and wanted to make some investments. I opened the stock software and looked, then told him, "Buy stocks, right now you can buy anything and it will rise. But after the Shanghai Composite Index reaches 6,000 points, you must sell everything. Absolutely do not hold on." In my previous life, I didn't play the stock market, so the reason I knew all this was because there was a workshop head in our factory. In 2008, due to the stock market crash, all his money evaporated, and he even owed a pile of debt. Finally, unable to bear the shock, he jumped off a building and committed suicide. At that time, the factory was abuzz with discussion, and I overheard many people saying that he should have sold off his shares at 6,000 points. Zhang Zai believed me. He watched the stock market climb day by day and asked me if I was a prophet. "Zhang Zai, do you know a kind of flower called the snow willow? It's cut down and air-dried and everyone thinks it's dead. But as long as you give it enough moisture, it can bloom again. I'm not a prophet, just a snow willow that came back to life from death." My energy was still focused on the store's operations. Our target customer group was young urban women. They had purchasing power and were willing to try new things. In just 1 year, the store saw great improvement. 2008 was the year Taobao took off, and also the era of explosive growth for new women's clothing stores. It successfully pulled Jia's father's factory back from the brink of loss, quickly turning a profit. Because I had to balance studies and work, and often had to run to the factory to check samples, I forced myself to get a driver's license and bought a second-hand car. Jia's father kept his promise, paying dividends every 6 months, always on time. In the summer of my sophomore year, Songmu took the college entrance examination. He got into a 211 university. My parents were overjoyed, throwing a big banquet and calling me to make sure I came back to join the fun. I wore a brand new outfit, sunglasses, and drove my small second-hand car into the village. Everyone was stunned, including my parents. I hadn't been home for several years. Every time they called to ask if I needed money, I always said no. In their minds, I probably just barely managed to live by tutoring. The most surprised were my paternal aunt and Aunt Zhang. The two huddled together, muttering. Finally, my paternal aunt said disdainfully, "Chao Chao, students should still study hard, they can't go down a crooked path." Aunt Zhang also chimed in, "We can't earn dirty money, you see." In their eyes, for a woman to earn a lot of money, she could only do so by selling her body. Even my parents looked hesitant. "Where did you get so much money? What are you wearing? This skirt is so short and this top has no sleeves." Everyone was discussing animatedly. In the end, it was actually the village party secretary's niece, who was visiting relatives, who helped me out. Guess what? That niece worked on the production line. She had seen me when I went to the factory to check goods before. It's just that there were so many workers, and I didn't remember such a person. For a moment, the villagers burst into an uproar. They eagerly asked me how I earned so much money, and then, with extreme envy, they said, "It's still important to study." You see, she's still in college and already driving a car, wearing such luxurious clothes and shoes. My parents beamed. My father grabbed my hand, laughing heartily. "I knew she had a future long ago. You all told me not to send my daughter to school back then, now you know, right?" "My daughter has a great future." Everyone praised me. The elders in the clan all morally blackmailed me. "If you're earning money, then you'll be responsible for your younger brother's education from now on. Your family's house is too old, you should give your parents money to build a big new house to live in." We all ignored it. My aunt pulled me aside, a fawning smile on her face. "Your cousin has been sitting at home for many years, always unable to find a job. You're so capable now, you really must arrange something for him." "What does he want to do?" My aunt slapped her thigh. "Of course, he wants to work in an office, drinking tea and reading newspapers every day. He can do tiring work, his health has always been poor. As for salary, 2,000 yuan a month is fine. He's also a proper vocational school graduate." I laughed. "My classmate's factory actually needs security guards. The monthly salary is 800, 3 shifts. If cousin is willing to go, I can actually introduce him." Cousin's aunt's face was as ugly as it could be, but she no longer dared to point her finger at my nose and lecture me like before, because our positions were no longer the same. In these past few years, I rarely contacted my family, but Song Mu would call me every now and then. We didn't have much in common to talk about, so after asking if I had eaten and how I was doing recently, we would hang up. That night, after the guests had left, Dad said, "Your uncle's storefront is going to be relocated, and it seems he's having some trouble now. He helped you before, you should go see him." Sometimes, I really don't know how to judge family members. They are selfish, but they also know how to be grateful. The next morning, I went to find Uncle De. The bus station had moved and his small shop's business wasn't good. He wanted to set up a new storefront, but he didn't have enough money. I gave him 80,000. Uncle De absolutely refused to accept it. "You're just a young girl, it's not easy for you to earn this money. You should keep it well for yourself, save it for your dowry in the future. Take it, this is what you deserve." The help you gave me back then far exceeded this money. If you hadn't pulled me up when I was at my most difficult, I might be on a production line right now. After much persuasion, Uncle De finally accepted it. He wiped the corners of his eyes. "That's good, I didn't choose the wrong person. Seeing you succeed, I'm truly happy. Mom and Dad wanted me to pay for Song Mu's tuition and living expenses. He refused. I'm a big man with hands and feet, why would I need a woman to support me? She can earn money by going to university, why can't I? I don't need it." At that moment, I realized he had grown up. Excessive pampering and doting are like pests on a sapling. Over time, they will eventually gnaw the sapling to nothing. And storms, although they will blow the tree from side to side, only after such tempering can the sapling finally stand on its own. After that summer vacation, my status changed. At family gatherings in the past, when there were many guests, I wasn't allowed at the table. Now, there is always a small spot for me. Elders in the clan would lecture their children, saying, "If only you were half as worry-free as your Chao Chao sister." All 7 aunts and 8 grandaunts wanted to get some benefits from me. Mom and Dad were soft-hearted and often spoke favorably for those relatives. Unfortunately, what they said was useless. One New Year's Day, I went to visit Uncle De. Mom's expression fell. "Chao Chao, do you hate Mom? We weren't easy back then either." It's not about hating. It's just difficult to feel close. For the rest of my life, I will fulfill my duties as a daughter, giving money when needed, buying things when needed. But my heart, it doesn't belong to this family, nor does it belong to mom and dad. When I was a senior in college, Zhang Shuai got married. His partner was a female worker from a factory. On the 26th of the 12th lunar month, the two wore bright red, cheap toasting outfits, going from table to toast. In the evening, my junior high classmates invited me to join them in disturbing the bridal chamber. I stood at the door of the bridal room, watching them joke around without restraint, as if seeing my past life. That day, I felt very uncomfortable and wanted Zhang Shuai to stop them, but he said, "It's a big day, don't be upset." Later, I took a broom and chased those people away. My mother-in-law blamed me for being insensible. Suddenly, I felt it was pointless, turned around and left. Years passed, and the muddy roads in the countryside were paved with cement. More and more people went out into the wider world, but their beliefs, have they truly been reshaped? I'm not sure. Light snow began to fall in the sky. Zhang Shuai caught up. He had drunk too much, his face flushed, and he stopped me. "Zhao Zhao, if I had also gone to high school back then, would you have noticed me?" "No, I'd rather never marry than be with you," I replied coldly. "Treat your wife well and stop being a mama's boy." Snowflakes landed on my face, a faint chill. Perhaps I too will become his white moonlight. It's because I am excellent enough, hard to obtain, that I am qualified to be a white moonlight. As I was about to reach home, my phone rang. It was Zhang Jai calling. "I have something I want to tell you." I got an offer from a big factory in Hangzhou. We'll be able to meet again very soon. Congratulations! Zhao Zhao, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. In the darkness, his tone was gentle. "I'll send you a photo." The signal in the village wasn't good. After a long while, a picture appeared on QQ. It was a branch of blooming snow willow placed in a glass vase. And a line from Zhang Jai, "They are tenacious and beautiful just like you, Song Zhao." The end. We appreciate you listening to the story at Audio Love Tales. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content.